Hi, I'm Celia Boothman, founder of LTR Coaching, and I'd like to welcome you to the Inspired Triathletes podcast, where I'll be bringing you stories from female triathletes and taking on topics that are important to women in the sport. Hello and welcome to today's episode. So I want to address some important questions about planning your training for the season, the goals for each training phase, and also how your focus will shift throughout the year as you're training for an event. So building your strength and endurance is crucial for triathletes, as the sport requires a high level of aerobic capacity, muscular strength, and stamina. However, navigating the various training approaches can be very confusing given the multitude of ideas out there. My goal today is to help you understand the objectives of your training so that you can discern which is beneficial or detrimental to your progress. Keep in mind that your focus will evolve over the course of the year as your training shifts, and understanding where your focus needs to lie will help you to clarify what's important at different times of the year. So today's episode, I'm going to explain how to enhance each discipline and build the necessary endurance and strength to unlock your full potential in triathlon. So if you search for how to build strength and endurance on platforms like ChatGPT, you'll find suggestions such as establish a base phase, focus on muscular endurance and functional strength, add specific power and speed training, build sport-specific endurance for race simulation. While these tips may be helpful, I want to share my approach and the reasons behind it. We can look at these and wonder what they all mean. So I'm going to clarify and explain my training ethos here. You've probably heard of the base phase of training. And according to ChatGPT, the goal of this phase is to build a solid aerobic foundation and basic strength before engaging in more intense activities. But what does that really entail? Typically, it involves steady, easy efforts without any intensity, gradually increasing the duration of your workouts. This strategy can be effective for beginners, but I like to emphasize the importance of maintaining good form and technique before you start to increase that mileage. So instead of a base phase, I prefer to use what I call a foundation phase. And this foundation phase is essential because it builds the bedrock for the rest of your training journey. During this phase, you're setting up not only the physical foundation, so building endurance, strength, and aerobic capacity, but also the mental habits and technical skills that will carry you through more intense training and ultimately your race. So the foundation focus, I'm going to go through a few different things that you want to be thinking about. So quality, not quantity, great form and technique. So an example of this could be within running, adding some drills into your warm-up, or you could start recording yourself to see what your running looks like. You could correct your posture if you need to. And we can also add in some short efforts to get you running faster, and maybe some very short hill work just to get you landing differently, landing in your midfoot and shortening your stride. This just enhances your running technique without you really, well, still need to think about it, but it takes away a bit of the thinking because you're forced into doing that with these shorter intervals and introducing some speed work and also a little bit of hill work. You could also look at getting some swim coaching so that you know what you need to focus on in the pool over the coming months. If you can't bilateral breathe, for example, then practicing that now when there's no race pressure is ideal. I know there's a mixed school of thought about bilateral breathing. Some people say, don't worry about it. But in my opinion, it's a really important skill to have, especially if you're going to be swimming in open water. You always want to have the option to breathe to the other side if there's a lot of chop in the water or you've got the sun in your eyes, etc. So practicing that now can be really beneficial. The next focus is developing technical skills and efficiency. So we're looking at how will this help me perform better? Efficient technique means that you use less energy, allowing you to maintain speed with a bit of a lower effort. So you may look at mastering skills, for example, cornering on the bike, weather permitting, or even riding during poor conditions if it's something that you struggle with. Don't leave learning these skills until a few months before a race, because they're really going to play on your mind if you're not used to riding in poor conditions and you haven't been practicing it up until the race, and then suddenly the race day weather looks poor and you haven't got that skill set under your belt. Now is a great time to practice it. Don't leave it till later. Start introducing it now. If you have to do it very, very slowly because you're nervous on the bike, then that's absolutely fine, but just make it a part of your training right from the get-go. Another focus is strengthening your muscles and joints to prevent injury. We can start building some strength using compound exercises in the gym. And by compound exercises, I mean things like squats, deadlifts, exercises that use multiple muscles in the body and just are not too intense on very specific muscles. An example of a non-compound exercise would be something like a bicep curl, where you're just working one muscle, but really you only need a few compound exercises to get benefits from your strength training. And think of this as prehab injury prevention work that reduces the chance of setbacks and keeps you in the great condition as your training intensifies. There are numerous studies that show how if you build strength in the gym, that translates to better performance in swim, bike, and run. So try and make that part of your routine. Get into the habit of going to the gym. Finding out the times when you can go is something that, in this foundation phase, if you can figure out all that, when's a great time for me to go and swim, when are the good times for me to go and use the gym, that's going to be really beneficial for you now, finding out and getting that routine established in your daily life. The next focus is building consistency and discipline. So as I just talked about, getting habits into place by following a structured training plan during this time, that will help you to build that discipline and the mental resilience that you'll need during later phases when the workouts become more challenging. Race season is a fairly long way off, so mileage and distance covered are less important, but setting up sustainable habits are more important, and it has to be sustainable. It's no good going into your foundation phase, maximizing every minute of your day to train. You need some wiggle room because you're going to increase your training as the year goes on. If you start at max capacity now, you've got nowhere to go. So getting those sustainable habits in place, and also I would say having fun is really important right now. I don't have a problem with athletes having a fun goal at this time of year, which isn't related to their main event. It helps to keep people motivated and also adds another dimension to training. One year I spent a few months running the coast path to add a bit of variety in, and the only goal I had was just to enjoy the scenery and complete it within a certain window. So I had a few months when I wanted to run the coast path, and then I kind of ticked that off and put it to the side and went back to my normal training. If you enjoy mountain biking or trail running, then it can be a really good time to have those options to swap out for your regular sessions if you want to keep things fresh. Mountain biking is great for learning skills on the bike as well, makes you a more confident bike rider. So if you do enjoy that kind of thing, then go for it at this time of year. Just mix things up a bit, keep things flexible and keep things fresh. The next focus is establishing recovery routines. So those habits like good nutrition, hydration, and adequate sleep do not happen overnight. They're things that you have to implement, especially if you know that that's something that you need to work on. Then trying to focus on maybe one habit per month, implementing that into your life and improving that area of your life is going to pay dividends later on. They're key components of your successful training, and in this foundation phase you've really got a bit of time here to establish those routines consistently. So being proactive about recovery from the start enables better adaptation, and also keeps your body strong as training demands increase. So you're not going to be breaking down and getting injured and stressed if you're getting the right amount of sleep, nutrition, and recovery. The next phase that we go into after the foundation phase, and these phases are fairly flexible. They kind of move depending on where your race goal is. But the next phase is a build phase, and this phase is all about adding layers of endurance while also dialing up the intensity to develop some speed and power. So the first focus here is enhancing endurance and speed with interval training. So the build phase is where athletes typically develop the ability to sustain higher intensities for longer durations. By incorporating some intervals near your lactate threshold, that's where you start breathing hard, you improve your body's ability to clear lactate efficiently, which lets you to maintain speed over extended periods of time. This phase usually coincides with longer daylight hours, which means that it's easier to get outside on the bike. But if it doesn't, then structured bike sessions on indoor bike may become the mainstay of your training. Remember, you can still do intervals outdoors, especially if you're using power. You can do those intervals outdoors, and it's a really good practice to practice maintaining a specific power over varied terrain and seeing what happens with your power over different terrain and trying to keep that as consistent as possible. So have a think about that, and if you can incorporate outdoor riding and you don't do everything on the trainer, get out when you can at this time of year, just in preparation for your race and event. The next focus is building functional strength and power. So great, we're building strength, but it needs to apply and be specific to our sport. And we start building that functional strength using some longer intervals, improving VO2 max by using those intervals that are near thresholds, for example, so hard intervals or moderate hard intervals. The way we get faster is to increase the amount of time that we can spend at faster paces. Athletes that race faster can stay at higher intensity for longer. They're practiced at that. So if we do not practice exercising at a higher intensity, then we won't be able to hold that pace for long. So we want to be extending the amount of time we can spend in that higher intensity. Our strength sessions in the gym are still important, and I keep those sessions in for my athletes all year round, especially important for female masters triathletes as we lose muscle mass much faster as we age. We can introduce strength sessions on the bike and overgear efforts. You can also do some hill running, some hill intervals, making those a little bit longer, using a band when you're swimming, so pull and band, just to add some resistance to your sessions. So that's going to, by adding resistance, you can build strength in specific sports. The next focus is your nutrition strategies for the longest training sessions. So during your longer sessions, fueling becomes critical for maintaining energy levels, especially as the intensity of your sessions increases. If you start to practice that now, it's going to help you to train your gut to handle eating on the bike and run. Many people leave this till quite late. They haven't practiced, and then they struggle to actually consume the right amount of nutrition. Hydration is also important to get right. So remember to hydrate, and remembering to do that during your sessions impacts your performance during those sessions, and also it impacts your ability to recover afterwards. So make sure you're going into sessions hydrated, make sure you're drinking throughout the day, and making sure that you're hydrated during that session is going to be really important. So focusing on intensity, endurance, and sport-specific strength in that build phase, you're training your body to sustain higher speeds and resist fatigue, which is going to prepare you for your peak race performance. This period is about translating all your early foundation into practical speed and resilience gains. So that's putting you on track for a great race day. And this build phase naturally transitions into the race phase, where you fine tune your physical and mental readiness, optimize race specific skills, and prepare strategically for your goal event. This final phase is about bridging the gap between your training and race day demands, allowing you to perform at your best on race day. And these are some of the things that you'll want to incorporate into your training at this time, some of the focuses that you want to have at top of mind. So if you are looking at, if you're an Ironman or half Ironman athlete, we're looking at any athlete is looking at race specific intervals, but specifically Ironman or half Ironman, you're going to be practicing your race like intervals at around zone 3 or tempo. And this effort level is described as comfortably uncomfortable. At first, it will feel fairly easy, but when you start accumulating time over a session in these zones, you'll find you need to maintain focus to be able to keep that power or that intensity up. So it's an exercise in focus and also increasing the amount of time that you can sustain that zone or that level of effort. So we're incorporating race specific intervals. We want to have a look at mental readiness strategies. So preparing mentally for race day is as important as the physical preparation. And some key mental strategies could include visualization. So we're practicing regularly, visualizing our race day. We might picture each segment in detail, imagine how it's going to feel. The more detail you can get into these visualizations, the better. We're looking at swim starts to transitions to crossing the finishing line, and this builds confidence and familiarity, reducing your anxiety on race day. If you can get to the race course ahead of time, then that's great. But if it's not possible, then have a look for videos or blogs about the race to give you an idea of what to expect. Some cycling training platforms also allow you to ride the virtual course, which may be useful to you. Remember also, when we're visualizing and collecting information, we want to make sure we're not getting too much negative information that's going to put us into a stressful situation. You can listen to people's ideas, but make sure that you're not taking on too much negative information that people have. People sometimes like to put that out there, and it's not always helpful for people who are preparing for their first event. We're also looking at our goal setting, so setting clear, achievable goals in terms of timing and pacing for each discipline. I ask athletes to have 3 goals. So we have a gold goal, which is your best scenario, your absolute amazing performance, silver goal, and a bronze goal, so that when it comes to race day, you can achieve at least one of them. It's really important to remember that on race day, things can go wrong. So we could have a mechanical, the conditions could be worse than we expected, and that's going to impact on your ideal scenario and could mean you have to adjust your goals. So thinking about this ahead of time enables you to adapt quicker on race day and also to let things go quicker on race day, because we don't want to be staying in a negative spiral or mindset during the race. So preparing and being aware that things might not go according to plan is a part of this phase of your training. You might come up with some mantras and focus points. So it could be something like strong and steady or 1 more mile to stay positive, something that works for you. You might need to do a little bit of journaling around this, have a look at what other people have used. And I like to write these down so that I can see them on my bike. Breaking down the course into sections also makes it seem a lot less overwhelming. You will have times when things are challenging, so having something to inspire or motivate you is going to help you through those periods of the race. Another focus is practicing transitions. So transitions are essential for an efficient race, especially in shorter events where every second counts. We're going to practice T1 and T2, so swim to bike and bike to run, to streamline your routine and avoid time lost to fumbling. I see a lot of people fumbling and not being very decisive in transition. You want to be able to go into transition without really having to think. And I ask athletes to think about what they will need in transition ahead of time and reduce the amount of choices to make on race day. For example, deciding ahead what you're going to be wearing on the bike so that you don't have to go, oh, should I wear my coat or not when you're actually in transition. You want to know that information before you get in there. Getting out of your wetsuit is another valuable thing to practice. There are plenty of videos online showing you the best way to get in and out of triathlon wetsuits. Have a look and practice when you do your open water swim practice. So another focus is open water swim practice, because open water swims differ significantly from swimming in a pool. You're going to have to deal with the water conditions, the temperature, currents, and also swimming in a group. So practice swimming in a lake or ocean or to experience how it feels. Practice sighting in these sessions, otherwise you can end up swimming further than you want to on race day. And if possible, also practice entering and exiting the water, getting in and out efficiently. That can save you a bit of time and also help you feel, maintain that momentum that you've got in your race focus. Another focus or thing that you might want to practice in this phase is brick workouts. So brick workouts are running off the bike. This is especially valuable if you're new to the sport. It will probably be a source of stress to you as to how your legs are going to feel going from bike to run. So having a few sessions where you practice that will be super helpful to you. It's not quite as important as you get more experienced in the sport, because you're probably going to be doing plenty of race sessions or training sessions where your legs are tired from even the day before, or if you've got double sessions on the same day, that could also impact that feeling of going from bike to run. But a lot of people, when they first start in the sport, find they want to do brick workout, they want to practice it, they want to feel how that feels and get an idea of what it's like. So those are probably going to make an appearance in your training. Another focus, we're still focusing and really paying attention to our fueling and nutrition and having a strategy for this now. So putting plans in place for race day. You want to have a plan as to what you will carry and where you're going to put it, how you're going to carry it, and continue to practice that strategy during long training sessions. You're going to be wanting to train with the exact products that you're going to use on race day so that you get used to them and there's no surprises on race day. Some people like to practice with the course nutrition and hydration so that if they do need to use that, then it's not a shock to the system. But that's totally up to you. It's not something that I have done in the past because I don't want to use, I prefer to use my own stuff, and we can always put things in special needs in a full Ironman event, which means that you've always got your own products available. But make sure you've practiced and you've planned for that. Having that plan in place is going to reduce your stress leading into your race, because you'll know exactly what you're going to carry, what you're going to have, and when you're going to have it, how much you need, etc. And then the final part of this phase is really tapering. So tapering for race day, and if you've probably heard the word taper before, and some people hate tapering, some people can't wait to taper. It's one of those parts of your training that is really important, and it's where you reduce the training volume to allow your body to recover and peak for the events. It's not a time when you're going to gain any fitness, but you're sort of absorbing your training, letting the existing fitness and adaptations really kick in. You can do this by lowering the duration of your workouts, but keeping some intensity in to retain that sort of race sharpness, race readiness. And you've done the work now, you've done everything that you can to prepare for the race. It's time to get to your race fresh and not injured. So don't try and test your fitness. You'll have the opportunity to do that on race day. It's very common to feel a bit anxious at this time, feel like you've got niggles and a little bit irritable sometimes because of the reduction in training volume. You're going to have more time to think about the event because your training volume has dropped a little. So put that extra energy into preparing for your race, making sure you're eating well, hydrating well, and getting enough sleep. Avoid those last minute worries by controlling the controllables. So anything to do with planning or things that you can do to help you race better, get all of those things ticked off right now and remind yourself of the work that you've done and trust in your training. So, to sum up, building a training program for your event is a progressive journey that unfolds across distinct phases. And each of these phases serves a unique purpose in preparing you for race day. So, don't try and skip over them. Together, these phases create this holistic approach where we combine our physical fitness with also mental resilience and our race day preparation. By respecting the purpose of each phase and having that focus in mind and having that steady progression, you can prepare yourself to perform at your best, confidently facing the challenges of race day with strength, endurance, and determination. If you enjoyed this episode, leave a review and remember to subscribe. It really helps me to reach more people. Or you may know someone who needs a little bit of help with planning their triathlon season. Please share this episode with them. It would be great. And finally, if you are looking for some support in planning your best triathlon season, then you can book a call with me. I'll leave my calendar link in the show notes and look forward to helping you to achieve your potential. Take care. Have a great day. Thanks for listening today. Have a great day. Take care. Bye for now.